On Tech News Today, Apple's bringing Apple University to China, plus it looks like the Apple Watch is going to ship later than expected. Google's Gmail 5.0 is available already, but not on the Play Store. And CNET goes back to the future today by launching a print magazine. No, really. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, November 3rd, 2014. This episode is brought to you by Citrix ShareFile. Enhance your workflow, send files of almost any size easily and securely with Citrix ShareFile. Try ShareFile today. For a 30-day free trial, go to sharefile.com, click the microphone, and enter TNT. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, and other Apple products are worth at gazelle.com. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the show. I'm Mike Elgan. And over there controlling everything is Anthony Nielsen.
Hey, how's it going, Anthony? I'm good. How are you?
How was your weekend?
Oh, pretty good. Didn't really do anything.
Me neither. That's a good weekend.
Yep.
I binged watched a lot of TV, caught up on everything, so now I'm like totally caught up and I have nothing to watch. So
awesome.
All right, well, Lindsay Turrentine is normally here on Monday, but she is off today, and we're going to tell you why later on in the show. Why don't we jump right into the news? Apple intends to expand its Apple University program into China, according to an exclusive this morning by 9 to 5 Mac's Mark Gurman. I talked to Mark about the story this morning from the campus of the University of Michigan. Here's that interview. Mark, before we get into the news, can you explain what Apple University is?
Sure. Apple University is a program that Steve Jobs developed in the mid-2000s and launched in 2008 alongside the former dean of Yale Business School, Joe Podolny. And what it is it's a school that the two created in order to share the Apple culture, some of the stories about how the company was created, certain product decisions with the first iPod, iPad, and iPhone, in order to carry that on past the lifetime of Steve Jobs and some of the other key Apple executives.
So how do you know that Apple is planning to move this into China?
So we've heard from sources that Podolny, vice president at Apple and dean of Apple University, is interviewing candidates to become a dean of Apple University China. And so right now they offer a couple classes and they fly teachers in now and then to give talks in the headquarters in China. And they have 3 main headquarters in Hong Kong, Beijing, and Shanghai. And now this is actually going to be like a more developed program with its own dean and its own, course guide and everything.
I'll just leave that right there in the video. So is Cupertino currently the only place where Apple does Apple University?
There's Apple University classes at various Apple headquarters and campuses around the world, but there's nothing like they have in Cupertino. In Cupertino, they have a full schedule, course guides, a full staff of teachers. Like there's, scores of people working on this, and they have an actual classroom school university setup, and that's unprecedented for a company like Apple to have. And what they'll be doing is creating something similar, specifically tailored for China.
Now, obviously, Apple has certain types of people attend Apple University. Will there be different types of people in China, given that China is a huge manufacturing hub as well as a market?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're told Apple has over 5,000 employees in China. A big chunk of that are retail people. So I think that there'll be some of the higher level retail people in those classes, alongside some engineers and people working in manufacturing and the supply chain, because that's where Apple really has their supply chain center, deep in China, as we all know. The big picture here is that it seems like Apple is building another version of itself in China, this major hub for the company, sort of like where they can build up new groups of executives and engineers and marketing people in order to be able to thrive on its own. And, Tim Cook was telling people, we're told that, the reason they're moving, creating an Apple China for China, or an Apple University for China, is that they don't want to miss a beat between their operations for the US and China. They want everything to be connected and coherent. But the goal is to be able to make them self-sustainable, and Apple University would be able to accomplish that in a few years' time.
Now, Mark, you also wrote a story about the Apple Watch over the weekend. You found some evidence for a rough ship date. Can you tell us about that?
Right. So since announcing the product on September 9th and in recent meetings and such, Tim Cook and other Apple executives have been touting an early 2015 launch date for the watch. Angela Ahrendts, the Senior Vice President of Retail and Online Stores, sent a videotape to retail employees, as she does every few weeks or few months, indicating what she's been up to, what the plans are, giving some advice. And in this, she mentions that, the holiday season is coming up in the U.S., there's the China New Year, and then they're going to be launching the watch in the spring. And that's the first time the spring season has been said in context of the watch. I don't know when early 2015 is by Apple's definition. In my definition, it would be like January, February, March the latest. Spring, as Aaron said, starts at the end of March and goes through the middle of June. So it's to be seen when the watch ends up launching, whether that be earlier in the year or in spring. But given that she frames the watch launch as happening after the Chinese New Year, which is February 19th, I believe, it's fairly certain that it's going to miss that Valentine's Day target they were shooting for.
Yeah, so they missed the holiday season at the end of this year. They missed the Valentine's Day target. Are they going to build the launch around some other event? Is there another event sort of in the springtime?
In terms of like a shopping season event, not really. Nothing comes to mind. It'll just be like general sales. I mean, people have been wanting this and waiting for it for a while. So I think that they're finally going to get it, and Apple's not going to ship it until they got everything working correctly. So I think overall it'll work out just fine.
All right, Mark. Well, thank you for joining us today on this recorded interview.
Thank you. Mark
Gurman is at 9to5mac.com, and you can follow him on Twitter. And Mark Gurman, the guy, is a scoop machine, and so he's really worth following. You'll get the Apple news right off the bat if you follow him on Twitter. Well, in just a sec, we're going to tell you about some interesting news coming from Google, but first I want to tell you about ShareFile. There's a whole bunch of reasons to use ShareFile and no reason to not use it. The reasons to use it include the fact that you want to send files that nobody else is going to get their hands on. And of course, the weird thing about email is that when you send an attachment over email, that attachment is duplicated. Let's say you copy 12 people. Now there are 12 copies of that file on 12 different email services, and if any one of those gets hacked or compromised in any way, your file is out in the open. You can't control it. It could happen the day you send it, or it could happen a year later. You just never have control over files that you send as attachments via email. It's a terrible, terrible idea. It's not 1995 anymore. Citrix ShareFile is the way to do it because you upload your file into the cloud and you send a secure link, and you maintain control over that file after you send it. For example, you can say, okay, I only want people to be able to download this once, or I only want people to be able to download it for a week. Either way, I want to be notified when somebody downloads it. For example, I sent this file, that interview with Mark Gurman we just watched. I sent that to Anthony over ShareFile, of course, and I didn't have to wonder whether he had it when we started the show. I got a notification from ShareFile saying, yes, Anthony has downloaded the file. And so it gave me a lot of peace of mind just automatically knowing what's going on with the file that I sent. Other reasons to send are just super easy to do. And yet another reason is because if you want to send gigantic files, and of course, if you're in video, if you do anything with large files, and the files just keep getting larger these days, you're going to want to use Citrix ShareFile, because if you send a file that's too big to somebody at some corporate office that has a firewall that blocks files of a certain size, you may never know that your file didn't get through. So it's always a good idea to use Citrix ShareFile for all of your files. I want you to try ShareFile with our special offer. Sign up today and get a 30-day free trial, no obligation. Just go to sharefile.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and enter TNT. And remember, visit sharefile.com and type in TNT. Google is apparently working on a product or service called Copresence, according to cryptic references found in the Google Play Services software and also the Chromium Bug Tracker. GigaOM's Kevin Tofel is here to tell us all about it. Welcome to you, Kevin.
Hey, good to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. We can't know exactly what Copresence is, but what kind of thing does it appear to be?
Well, you're right. We don't know what it is yet. We see a lot of puzzle pieces, but we haven't put them all together yet. That's going to be up to Google to do. What we've seen is in the latest Google Play Services build, which is used by Google to push out some of its back-end features and functions to all Android devices, we've seen a lot of mentions of something called Copresence. And there are even images of an iPhone and presumably an Android phone like kind of talking to each other. So it could possibly be some way to communicate peer-to-peer between iOS and Android, but it also ties back into something that Android police had spotted several months back called nearby. And presence, the word presence and co-presence actually kind of substantiates that a bit. So we're seeing things like new APIs in Android and in Chrome, which is very interesting, that will use I'm just reading this from the API, will communicate to other nearby devices using Google's Copresence service. There's even mentions of Google's cloud messaging service, which is already available for Android developers. So clearly there's something cross-platform going on. Will it be something like an AirDrop competitor where you can pass files or other information phone to phone? I don't know. Or will items that are nearby or people that are nearby actually pop up? It's really a good question. I'm waiting to see what Google's going to do here.
Do you have a sense of whether or not the Chrome reference is for Chrome the browser or Chromebook laptops or both? Any idea which way that's going to go?
I suspect it would be both, and the reason I'm saying that is the Chromium bug tracker is where they track Chrome and Chrome OS bugs. Additionally to that, Google's big strategy here on the desktop really is both of those items. Chrome OS for Chromebooks, obviously, but Chrome on Windows, Linux, and Mac. So anything they bring to Chrome OS has typically fallen in line on the regular Chrome platform as well.
I got a sense from reading your report that the activity around this concept, the Copresence idea, has been pretty recent and pretty, there's a lot of it going on. Does that give you the sense that something is going to be announced pretty soon?
It's hard for me to pin the timing on it because, as I said, we've got the puzzle pieces. We don't have the whole puzzle yet. But out of the 18 bugs that reference Copresence in the Chromium bug tracker, all of them were actually updated in the month of October. So there's very recent activity, and the Googlers are obviously working hard on bringing whatever Copresence is to market.
I love this cross-platform stuff that's coming out in the mobile operating systems and also the desktop operating systems. It's a cool new world of interoperability, and I really like it. Kevin Tofel is at gigaom.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Kevin C. Tofel. Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Thanks, Mike.
A new Gmail 5.0 for Android has apparently leaked online in advance of its availability on the Google Play Store. The Android Police blog has discovered the Android Application Package, or APK, files, and also links to them so you can install them yourself. As expected, Gmail 5.0 is built with Google's Material Design Interface conventions and supports third-party services like Yahoo Mail, Exchange, and Outlook.com email. The existence of the Gmail 5.0 APK file suggests that the upgrade should appear on the Google Play Store real soon now. Well, CNET today launched a print magazine. If you're unfamiliar with the concept of a print magazine, it's basically a website made out of trees. The magazine is called What Else? CNET, and goes on sale for a cover price of $5.99 at stores like Costco, Target, and Walmart. The magazine will launch with a circulation of about 200,000 copies. The premiere issue features LL Cool J on the cover for some reason, and the magazine will contain mostly original content and not warmed-over articles from the CNET.com website. The New York Times says the launch is part of a trend of digital brands adding traditional forms. And they give a bunch of examples, including the WebMD Publishing Magazine's initiative, the online retailers like Bonobos opening brick-and-mortar stores. And, of course, this is why Lindsay Turrentine is not with us today. She's our normal Monday co-anchor. She is off in New York doing the media circuit, promoting this idea. She's one of the editors-in-chief of this. She's the editor-in-chief of reviews for CNET, but also Connie Guglielmo is the editor-in-chief for news, and the two of them are co-editors-in-chief for this new magazine. Kind of weird. CNET, CNET is one of the digital-only technology publications that drove all the computer magazines out of business, basically. And that happened long ago, and now they're the ones sort of leading the forefront back into the world of printing information on tree pulp. Well, in just a sec, we have some updates for you, but first I want to tell you about Gazelle, okay? If you love gadgets and you like to buy the latest gadget, you don't have to feel bad about that. It's a virtue. Gadgets are awesome. Technology is awesome. You want the latest thing. You don't want the old and busted thing. And Gazelle will help you get it. How? By taking your old thing, and they'll give you really, really good money for it. If you've got an old iPad or an old iPhone sitting around, you can get really good money. So right now, if you're looking at the video version, we're looking at an iPhone 5S, 64 gigabytes at AT&T, excellent condition, I think it was. The unlocked price that Gazelle will pay you is $240. The base price is $205. That will take you a long way toward the new hotness. you got to use Gazelle. It's part of the gadget circle of life. There's no reason not to. It's super, super easy. One of the reasons people leave their old devices lying around is because if they're like me, they're either lazy or it's like they're not really sure what to do, or maybe they should recycle it or whatever. No, the right thing to do is to send it to Gazelle. Once you go through the process on their website, that's GAZELLE.com, they send you a box. You put your device in the box, you put the sticker they include in the box on the outside, put it back in the mailbox, and you get paid. And they've paid nearly $170 million to over 1 million customers. They pay you by check, they pay you by PayPal, or if you use the Amazon gift card option, they'll pay you an extra 5%. I always use that option because I like free money. So find out what your iPhone is worth. Take a minute and go to gazelle.com to find out. AT&T announced today that the LG G Watch R, the R stands for round, will become available on their website Wednesday and in stores Friday. The watch will cost $299 by itself, but $199 if you buy it with a second-generation Moto X phone. Samsung plans to start selling its Galaxy Note Edge phone on November 14th for $400 with a 2-year contract, or $946 unlocked from AT&T, or $840 unlocked from Sprint. If you recall, the Note Edge has a display that curves down on the right side, the curved part having its own display and even its own SDK. Sonos, a company best known for high-quality, easy-to-use Wi-Fi speakers, is apparently beta testing a remote controller for music systems on Android Wear. The project was discovered by accident when a user trying a beta version of the Sonos controller for Android saw the controls pop up on his Moto 360. In other news, in 1976, the 21-year-old Apple co-founder Steve Jobs sold an Apple I out of his parents' garage to a guy named Charles Ricketts for $600. Now that computer, which still works by the way, is going up for auction on December 11th, and the expected price is a little bit more than $600. In fact, it's a little bit more than $500,000. It's called the Ricketts Apple I, and it's the only Apple I in the wild known with certainty to have been sold by Steve Jobs personally. The computer will come with a canceled check used to buy it from the garage. Only a few hundred Apple I's were produced, and fewer than 50 still exist. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Joe Doganzik in Tempe, Arizona, who posted this picture on Twitter of himself watching the show on Halloween. That was on Friday. Look at that Halloween cupcake. Wow, that looks pretty good. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of your setup, post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. And that is the Tech News Today. Subscribe to Tech News Today on Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Feely, Yahoo, RSS. So many options. Choose your favorite at twit.tv/TNT. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV, and please send us your thoughts and opinions by email at tnt@twit.tv or by phone, 260-TNT-SHOW. We won't answer the phone, but you can leave a message. And don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name's Mike Elgan. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.